Hello and welcome to our nightly news program. I'm your host, Karim Fazakari, bringing you the latest updates from around the world. In today's headlines, Hajj pilgrims embark on spiritual journey. Prayers at Mount Arafat and rituals at Muzdalifah mark second day. Also coming up, Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune extends Eid al-Adha wishes to the nation and shares wishes with Arab leaders. Also ahead, Eid al-Adha amid volatility in Sudan. Citizens face unrest and separation. And Wagner Group to surrender military equipment to Russian armed forces after Moscow mutiny. And President Putin commends soldiers for preventing civil war. Hello again and welcome to the program. First off in our news, on the second day of Hajj, Muslim pilgrims traveled to Mount Arafat to perform the greatest part of the six-day ritual. They spent the day in reverent prayer. Then after sunset, they moved to Muzdalifah, where they spent the night before moving again to throw the stones just before sunrise. More with Salman Asib.
On the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the most important day for the Hajj pilgrimage, when the sun rises, Muslim pilgrims set off at dawn morning to perform their greatest pillar of the Hajj, Arafah, a once-in-a-lifetime duty that is also considered the world's biggest religious gathering for every Muslim who can afford it.
For me, Hajj is a big dream. I have tried many times before to come. Thanks be to God, we have been blessed this year. It is a big and beautiful feeling. I'm extremely happy in this trip. May God accept our prayers.
On the second day of the Hajj, worshippers were seen walking along the street of Arafat, where Prophet Muhammad is believed to have delivered his final sermon 14 centuries ago. And at noon, pilgrims headed to the Namira Mosque and listened to the sermon of Arafat and performed Dhuhr and Asr prayers by Sheikh Yusuf bin Muhammad, calling on worshippers to unite and refrain from conflict.
The difference between your languages and colors was mentioned in the texts of Quran, and it has commanded to unite, love one another, and refrain from conflict, separation, and disagreements. God has commanded to hold on to Him, not to go on separate ways, and to remember His blessing that is upon us. If you were enemies, He will unite your hearts and turn you to siblings with His blessing.
Moreover, pilgrims then stayed until sunset before moving to Muzdalifah, where they gathered pebbles to throw at stone columns, symbolizing the devil. This ritual marks the first day of Eid al-Adha, or the Feast of Sacrifice, which is celebrated by Muslims across the globe today. This year, according to Saudi authorities, more than 1.6 million pilgrims had already arrived for the pilgrimage, as COVID-19 pandemic restrictions have been fully relaxed compared to the year 2020.
During Eid al-Adha Eve, Palestinians diligently prepare for the religious occasion in the occupied Al-Quds markets in the West Bank, despite deliberate efforts by the occupation to dampen the joy through incursions, arrest campaigns, and soaring prices.
The economic situation is bad for many reasons. It's the Israeli occupation that is preventing people from entering and leaving Nablus. And the second reason is the delay in paying salaries to Palestinian Authority employees and the frequent salary cuts.
As Eid al-Adha is only a few hours away, Muslims around the world are facing challenges in buying or selling sheep for sacrifice. Let's delve into the situation with Islam Said this time.
Livestock markets from North Africa to the Middle East are bustling with activity as people seek to purchase sheep for the upcoming Eid al-Adha celebrations. However, buyers are finding it increasingly difficult to afford sacrificial animals due to the skyrocketing prices.
The demand is less than last year. Till now and tomorrow is the eve of Eid. The demand is less by 25 to 30%. With these prices, not everyone can buy sacrificial animals, even those who intend to do so. When they check the prices, they change their minds.
People come to the market hoping to buy sheep, but the prices are simply unaffordable, making them reluctant. They say it's disheartening because sacrificing an animal is an integral part of religious observance. As for sellers, it's a challenging situation for them too. In Algeria, the scenes are no different. Many Algerians are expressing their frustration over the soaring prices of sheep, making it difficult for everyone to afford them.
Yes, I bought a sheep this year, but I think that they are very expensive. It varies between 75,000 dinars and 140,000 dinars, which is not affordable to everyone. But I see that people are buying, which means that there is a certain purchasing power. People who have very good salaries can buy, while others don't.
Some farmers say the high prices of fodder have had a direct impact on the cost of sheep, while others affirm droughts have resulted in a shortage of grazing areas for the animals, further exacerbating the situation.
Selling is low. People complain and say they are unable to buy, and the prices are exorbitant because the price of livestock food has risen.
Eid al-Adha, also known as the Feast of Sacrifice, is celebrated by approximately 1.9 billion Muslims worldwide. It involves the ritual sacrifice of animals, particularly sheep, with the meat distributed to the less fortunate. However, this year's celebration is marked by the global economic crisis, impacting the affordability of sacrificial animals for many Muslims. As we approach Eid al-Adha, both buyers and sellers face challenges due to the high prices in the livestock market.
Still with the occasion of Eid al-Adha, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune expressed his best wishes of Eid al-Adha for Algerian people. Let's listen.
أخواتي المواطنات، إخواني المواطنين، بمناسبة عيد الأضحى المبارك أتقدم إليكن وإليكم بأسمى آيات التهاني والتبريكات داخل الوطن وخارجه، راجيا من الله أن يعيده علينا بالخير والبركة ودوام الاستقرار في كنف الأخوة والتضامن والتآزر الذي عهدناه في شعبنا المؤمن. أتمنى لشعبنا عيد مبارك وأن يوفقنا الله جميعا لما فيه خير لبلدنا المفدى ولأمتنا ولأهلنا في فلسطين الجريحة، متمنيا لحجاجنا الميامين العودة لوطنهم سالمين غانمين إن شاء الله. كما لا يفوتني في هذه المناسبة التنويه بجهود كل العاملين المداومين في خدمة المواطنين في هذه الأيام المباركة. وفي الأخير نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يديم علينا نعمة الأمن والأمان ويتغمد شهدائنا الأبرار برحمته الواسعة. عيدكم مبارك سعيد وكل عام وأنتم بخير. تحيا الجزائر أبية شامخة.
On Eid al-Adha, also Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune extended congratulations to several Arab leaders via phone calls, expressing wishes for continued prosperity and stability for their respective peoples. President Tebboune received calls from Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, thanking them for their brotherly communication and extending his well wishes. Additionally, President Tebboune made a phone call to Tunisian President Kais Saied, congratulating him on the occasion and wishing prosperity and contentment for the Tunisian people. The Tunisian president himself expressed gratitude and reciprocated the congratulations and wished continued prosperity and stability for Algeria. Just hours before Eid al-Adha, the Algerian army successfully foiled attempts to smuggle large quantities of drugs across the border with Morocco. The joint efforts of the Algerian army and various security services resulted in the interception of 7 quintals and 8 kilograms of treated drugs. In a coordinated operation across military regions, 79 drug dealers were apprehended and over 350,000 hallucinogenic tablets were seized. To a different story now, Algeria's ambassador to Libya, Slimane Chanin, and the U.S. ambassador Richard Noland held talks to coordinate efforts in supporting the United Nations mission in Libya. Noland took to Twitter to affirm their discussion on the significance of backing the UN Special Envoy to Libya, Abdoulaye Bathily. The focus was on initiating political negotiations, finalizing a roadmap for successful elections, and safeguarding Libya from regional turmoil. The European Commission announced that the signing of the comprehensive partnership between the European Union and Tunisia will be postponed until after Eid al-Adha holiday in Tunisia. For his part, the Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani confirmed that the agreement covers strengthening economic and trade relations, partnership in the field of sustainable and competitive energy, immigration, and rapprochement between peoples.
Tomorrow, Commissioner Oliver Varela will sign an agreement with the Tunisian government for financial assistance, in particular with regard to the fight against trafficking in human beings and with substantial funding from the European Union.
Amid a volatile situation in Sudan, people both within and outside the country will experience Eid al-Adha for the first time in such dire circumstances. The rival military parties, the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese army have caused unrest, and citizens abroad expressed sorrow over their inability to celebrate the holy occasion with their families, while those remaining in the country face the dangers of artillery and gunfire. Osama Ayadi has all the details.
For many Sudanese struggling to survive the war, a taste of the sheep Muslims traditionally sacrifice for the feast of Eid al-Adha is but a distant memory. People who fled to neighboring countries of Sudan are obliged to live this religious holiday for the first time away from their motherland and even away from family.
It's
the first time I spent Eid away from Sudan and alone. I never thought I would leave Sudan because I don't even have a passport. If it weren't for this war, I wouldn't have left Sudan.
As war rages in different parts of the country, people in the eastern coastal city of Port Sudan are trying to have a sense of normalcy ahead of the Muslim Eid al-Adha. In a livestock market, people were checking available animals to purchase for sacrifice, despite prices being significantly higher than the previous years.
I swear to God, Sudanese people deserve better than the current situation. They truly deserve better. Sudanese people have been suffering for long, and they still have strong faith in God. The evidence is that amidst the fighting, they are continuing with their rituals. We ask God for peace all over Sudan and to protect all the Sudanese people.
The conflict, now in its third month, has brought death and turmoil and displaced millions in the country that was already poverty-stricken before the fighting erupted. At a time when Sudanese citizens are looking for a glimpse of hope for truce, many cities have witnessed repeated artillery shelling, warplanes overflight, explosions, and sounds of heavy exchange of fire. A few hours after the Rapid Support Forces announced a two-day truce unilaterally, local media reported that intermittent gunfire from heavy weapons was heard south of Omdurman and west of Khartoum. The Sudanese army, for its part, did not announce any agreement for a truce.
Zionist soldiers have injured 2 Palestinians with live ammunition and detained 6 others, including a journalist, during a military operation in Nablus in the West Bank. Reports indicate that the soldiers carried out raids in various neighborhoods using live ammunition, tear gas, and sound bombs, resulting in injuries and cases of suffocation among the Palestinians. The Zionist occupation has given approval for the construction of 5,623 new colonial settler units in the occupied West Bank. This decision is expected to escalate tension and violence in the region. The move has garnered reactions at the UN Security Council and has also left Washington annoyed. For more details on this matter, let's go to our own Islam Sit.
Zionist occupation keeps on defying international law as it approved the construction of 5,623 new colonial settler units in the occupied West Bank. The move looms to escalate tensions and violence in the region. Such act did not go unnoticed by the Palestinian authorities. The Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemned Zionist decision and said Netanyahu's government is actually rewarding settler terrorism against the Palestinian people.
The new units are a reward for the Israeli extreme right, Smotrich and Ben Gvir, and their likes and terrorist followers, who will employ these units to expand the bases of Jewish terrorism in the occupied West Bank, which means giving them a greater opportunity to escalate their attacks against the defenseless Palestinian civilians.
Reactions quickly followed the occupation's decision, starting with the meeting of the UN Security Council. Riyad Mansour, Palestinian ambassador to the UN, called for a clear stand against settlers and their sponsors.
How come the entire world cannot stand up to the settlers and their sponsors? If all of you say settlements are illegal and it should stop, all of you, why are we not succeeding in stopping this evil behavior from continuing, stealing our land and threatening the lives of our people?
For its part, Washington expressed its annoyance at the decision taken by the occupation and considered the settlements an obstacle to the two-state solution and peace.
We are also deeply troubled by Israel's recent announcements advancing more than 5,000 settlement units and reports of changes to Israel's system of settlement administration that expedite the planning and approval of settlements. Going forward, it is vital that both Israel and the Palestinian Authority take additional steps to de-escalate tensions.
More than 700,000 Zionists live in a racist Jewish-only colonial settlements across occupied East Quds and the West Bank, in a clear violation of international law and UN resolutions.
Russia's defense ministry announced that the Wagner Group will hand over their military equipment to the Russian armed forces following the recent mutiny in Moscow. The statement, although brief, does not provide details on the specific equipment nor the timeline for the exchange. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story.
Preparations are underway for the transfer of the Wagner private military company heavy military equipment to the active units of the armed forces of the Russian Federation.
Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday made a statement to the nation about Saturday's aborted armed mutiny, in which he thanked Wagner fighters and commanders who had stood down to avoid bloodshed. Putin said he would honor his promise to allow Wagner fighters to relocate to Belarus if they wanted, or to sign a contract with the defense ministry, or simply return to their families.
Солдаты и офицеры настоящие защитники Отечества.
I thank those soldiers and commanders of the Wagner Group who made the only right decision. They stopped at the last line. Today you have the opportunity to continue serving Russia by entering into a contract with the Ministry of Defense or other law enforcement agencies, or to return to your family and friends. However wants to can go to Belarus. The promise I made will be fulfilled.
Уберегли нашу родину от потрясений.
South Africa's Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor assures that the recent attempted mutiny in Russia will not hinder African efforts to engage with authorities in Moscow and Kiev regarding the Ukrainian conflict. Following discussions with her German counterpart, Pandor highlighted that the African Peace Mission's visit to Kiev and Moscow was a preliminary step, and leaders from both countries have agreed to hold further meetings in the coming weeks.
There isn't a mutiny. There was an attempted mutiny. That would be the language I would use. And it will not affect our intention of continuing to engage with both countries, as has been agreed by the presidents who were part of the Africa Peace Mission.
Russian Wagner Group leader Prigozhin arrived in Belarus on Tuesday under a deal that ended a brief mutiny against the Russian military by his fighters. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said that there is no reason to fear the presence of the Wagner army in the country and that Belarus could gain benefit from their combat experience.
There is much talk currently. Wagner, Wagner, Wagner. People do not understand that we also take pragmatic approach. If their commanders come to us and help us, this is experience. Listen, they are at the front, assault squads. They will tell us what is important right now.
In a different story, China's #2 leader on Tuesday criticized the strategy of less reliance and de-risking upheld by the United States and its European allies in dealing with economic ties with China, saying the two are false propositions. Chinese Premier Li Qiang has warned against politicizing the world's economic relations, stressing the need for exchanges and communication and the importance of openness and cooperation.
Nowadays, some people in the West are hyping up the concept of so-called less reliance and de-risking with China. I believe that to some extent, these two statements, less reliance and de-risking, are a false proposition.
For more news making headlines around the globe, let's follow the news in brief by Sofian Kenturi.
The Pentagon said on Tuesday that the United States will provide Kiev with a new military package worth up to $500 million in a show of support for Ukraine's fight against Russia, as Moscow deals with the aftermath of immunity by the mercenary fighters. The package will include ground vehicles, including Bradley fighting vehicles, and Stryker armored personnel carriers, and munitions for artillery rocket systems. 4 people have been confirmed dead and 3 others remain missing after landslides hit a county in southwest China. More than 20 officers and soldiers were also dispatched by a detachment under the Sichuan Provincial Armed Police Corps, carrying rescue equipment such as drones and live detectors, in an effort to conduct search and rescue. Swedish Foreign Minister Tobias Billström said that Sweden has fulfilled all the requirements set out by Turkey in order to join NATO. Meanwhile, British Foreign Minister James Cleverly added that the UK will continue to push for the speedy conclusion of Sweden's accession to NATO. Thousands of air travelers have faced flight cancellations as thunderstorms rolled across the US East Coast and Midwest. In addition to bad weather, a technology failing also contributed to airline disruptions in Washington, D.C.
And finally, to a sports note, Algeria's Minister of Youth and Sports, Abdurrahman Hamed, has confirmed Algeria's readiness to host the upcoming 15th edition of the Arab Games. The event, scheduled to take place from the 5th to the 15th of next month, is part of Algeria's extensive preparations to ensure the success of the Arab Olympics. Minister Hamed expressed his remarks during an inspection visit to various sports facilities involved in the event. Stay tuned for more updates on this exciting sports event.
You were with us the whole morning during our visit to the Arabic village that is supposed to host participants athletes. Also the 5th of July Stadium that will host the opening ceremony of the Arab Games. Thank God, now we are in the final touches that will make Algeria ready to host this event. I think that the opening ceremony will be at the level of expectations, and I think that I will keep what will happen in the opening ceremony as a surprise.
That's the end of our news program for tonight, but do stay tuned to this channel for more news from around the world, or you can follow our social media platforms. I'm Karim Zachary signing off. Till next time, take care.